Grips are probably the most versatile tool in AutoCAD. We can use them to make quick revisions to our geometry. In fact, we can use grips to accomplish nearly every modification command we've talked about so far. Let's take a look at how they work. On my screen, I've got a drawing of a handheld video game, and off to the side, I've got some scrap geometry. We're going to use this line work to explore the concept of grips. I'm going to start by selecting this line, and notice these little blue squares. These guys are called grips, and they act a lot like handles. Now, this feature should be on by default. In the event you select your line and you don't see these grips, let me show you where you can go to turn the feature back on. First of all, I'm going to hit Escape to deselect this line, and then I'm going to right-click in the middle of the screen, and we'll come down to Options. And if we go to the Selection tab, the Enable Grips setting is right here. You want to make sure there's a check in that box. Let's click OK. And as long as we're talking about settings, let's also make sure that our dynamic input is turned on. Dynamic input will give us additional functionality with our grips. I'm going to reselect this line, and watch this. If I place my cursor over this end, I can use this grip to query my geometry. Notice I can see my line length and the angle at which the line was drawn. Let's select this circle. I will hover over this grip. AutoCAD will tell me the radius. I'm going to select this arc, and I'll hover over this grip. I can see the radius of my arc and the arc's included angle. So we can use grips to find out geometric information about our line work. To clear these grips and deselect the entities, I'm going to hit the Escape key on my keyboard. Let's look at how we can use grips to change our geometry. Once again, I'm going to select this line. Then I'm going to place my cursor over this grip and click. This makes the grip hot. And notice I've got some fields. There's actually 4 fields here. The first one represents the amount of change I'd like to make to my line length. If I hit my Tab key, this field will let me change the total length of the line. Let me hit Tab again. This field, it's a little bit hidden, but it represents the total angle of the line. And let me hit Tab again. This guy represents the amount of change I'd like to make to the angle. Let's make this line segment 2 units long. I'm going to hit my Tab key until I get to the total length field. I will type 2 and hit Enter. And if I hover over this grip, I can see it's now 2 units long. I want to change one more thing. Let's set this guy to a 0-degree angle. I'm going to select my grip. I'm going to hit Tab, Tab until I get to the total angle. I will set this to 0 and hit Enter. Let's make a change to our circle. I'll select this guy. I will then click to select this grip. And notice I have 2 fields. One represents the total length of the radius, and the other one represents the amount I'd like to change my radius. In this case, let's change the radius to 1.25, and I'll hit Enter. Once again, I will select the grip, and I'm going to hit Tab, and then I'm going to pull in this direction, and I would like to change the radius 0.25. Enter. Notice this guy now has a radius of 1. Finally, we'll make a change to the arc. I will select it, and if we want to make numeric changes to an arc, we have to use the triangular grips. Let me click right here. Notice I can change the radius. I'm going to change this to 1.25 and hit Enter. If I click one of these end triangles, I can change the start or end angle of my arc, or I can free pick a point on screen to adjust my arc length. Once again, I can deselect these by hitting the Escape key on my keyboard. Now there are even more changes we can make to our geometry using grips. Let's look at a couple more. I'm going to select this line, and then I will select this grip and make it hot. Then I'll right-click and take a look at the menu. Notice I can move, mirror, rotate, scale, or stretch this geometry. I'm going to select Move. Notice I am moving this line, and I am holding it from the location of the grip. If I right-click, I can select Rotate. I am now rotating the line around that grip. Let me right-click again and select Scale. I am now scaling this line based on that grip. Take some time and explore some of the other modification settings available in this menu. Before we leave, I'm going to rotate this line. I'm going to select Rotate, and we'll rotate him 10 degrees, and I'll hit Enter. Now that we have a working knowledge of grips, let's try and use them in a practical example. Let's take a look at this handheld game over to the left. Maybe I would like to change its screen size. Let's select this geometry, and I will hover over this grip, and I can see the screen currently measures 1.7 inches wide by 1.6 inches tall. Let's make the screen 1.75 inches tall. I can do that by selecting this grip, and then I will hit my Tab key until I get the total length of the vertical line, and we'll type 1.75 and hit Enter. That takes care of one side. I will then select this grip, and I'll hit my Tab key until I get the overall length of the other vertical line. We'll type 1.75 and hit Enter, and I can see that we've successfully changed the geometry of our screen. Let's make one more change. I'm going to hit Escape to deselect this line work. Maybe I'd like to move this button 1/4 of an inch closer to the screen. To do that, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. I am going to make a window and select this geometry. I will then select the grip and right-click. We'll select Move from the menu. And this won't be very accurate, so I'm going to lock my ortho. And then I will pull straight up and type 0.25 and hit Enter. Using grips can be one of the fastest ways to make changes to your geometry. In fact, grips can do much more than what we've seen here. If you know how to use these little blue handles, you're well on your way to understanding future concepts like dynamic blocks or 3D modeling.